rise and shine.
Rise and shine, chop chop.
Rise and shine.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day.
Rise and shine, rise and shine.
Rise and shine.
Rise and shine.
You guys are nerds.
This is exactly what the nerds want.
Our name shall become legend, spoken in hushed tones by nerds across the galaxy.
If you build it, nerds will come.
Nerds must love this place.
They think we're a bunch of nerds, and I'll tell you something, I think they're right.
Let the nerds take over.
Let the nerds take over.
Rise and shine, nerds. We hope you've got your coffee because it's time for our brand new morning show for Love Thy Nerd and anyone who finds themselves at the cross section of nerd culture and church culture. I'm Radio Matt. I'm the director of content and resources here at Love Thy Nerd.
And I'm Deidra, and I have no fingerprints.
Later in the show, we're talking about AI and how it's being used in church culture. But first, Deidra and I have been married for 18 years, so that means we're pretty much the perfect couple now. So we're going to help other married couples solve their weird problems.
Here's a story from the subreddit known by the acronym AITA. But since we're watching our profanity on this Christian Nerd podcast, we're going to call it Am I the Jerk?
All right. So here's the question. Am I the jerk for calling my husband embarrassing for not wearing a suit to my brother's wedding? Here's what happened. I, 31 female, have been married to my husband, 40 male, for 1.5 years, together for 3. One thing about him is that he hates wearing suits, will not wear a tie, and will rarely wear a button-up shirt, and if so, it will not be tucked in. He says it makes him uncomfortable. For our wedding day, he did wear a very nice suit, but no tie. I tried, but he refused, and obviously it wasn't going to be my hill to die on, as this was the person I wanted to marry most importantly. He looked really good on that day. We have been to another dozen weddings together, and whilst they don't usually specify dress codes, in our culture we do tend to dress up for weddings. So usually I'm very formal, and he will wear a button-up shirt, not tucked in, and chinos. Sometimes a casual blazer. He is always the most underdressed person, but he doesn't care as long as he is comfortable. Of course, this bothers me, but I don't say anything for these occasions. Sometimes I suggest wearing darker colors to dress up the outfit more, but that's as far as I go. However, my brother's wedding is coming up, and he is insisting on wearing the same wedding guest outfit he usually wears. This is upsetting me, as although there will be no bridal party, as he is part of the family, he will have an important role in the wedding. He will just stand out being dressed so casually, especially for family photos, and it upsets me that he doesn't want to make an effort for my brother's wedding. He still has his wedding suit and won't even wear the suit pants, and definitely won't tuck his shirt in and wear his belt even with chinos. I cracked and told him I will be embarrassed to stand next to him on the day, and now he is upset and called me controlling. I don't think I'm being unreasonable because I have dropped this for all other weddings, and I accept he won't wear a suit, but think he should compromise by dressing up a little bit more. Shirt tucked in, belt, etc. Am I the jerk?
I say that you knew what you married. And just because you're married doesn't mean he'll change.
Let's talk about.
I will say, okay, so Matt and I, it was 18 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Got married, and I in looking through our family photos, I do always note that Matt's brother and his wife, like, obviously didn't. Maybe they probably didn't think about being in family photos for the wedding, because like his wife's in shorts and their baby girl she had this hair that was just like, she had tons of it, right? And it would always stick up straight, and it would just be, and they look like, they just came for a casual get together.
They look like fans of the wedding. They want to get their picture with the celebrities.
And it looks kind of funny next to me in my wedding dress and Matt in his suit and tie and everything. And so, for photos, I get it, yeah. Yeah. because those are forever photos, you know.
But at the same time, does it bug you?
No,
Right.
no.
Because it's not a big deal. It doesn't change what happened.
Yeah.
Mosaic says 32 years in, and Kathy makes me tuck my shirt in for wedding. Well, coerces. We did have a girl come to our wedding reception in a tube top. Like, when I go to weddings,
You don't.
I'll do a button-up shirt, but I'm gonna have untucked, and it's gonna be in jeans. In fact, for the longest time, I didn't even own a pair of dress pants. Like the recent decade, I didn't. I'm like, I never need them. And so we had like 2 occasions where we had like a funeral and a wedding, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna be there in jeans. I even like did a funeral service, and I had to tell the people, look, I don't own dress pants right now. So are you cool with me being in jeans? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Because we live in cowboy country, so I guess it's normal. I don't tuck it in because it doesn't look great tucked in on a big guy. You really pronounce the gut when you tuck in a dress shirt for a big guy. It would be better if I had a jacket, I guess, a casual blazer or something over it, but still, I don't go to things often enough that I feel like I need to plan for them. We got maybe one wedding every 3 years.
Right.
Like, I don't feel like it's a common thing.
Right. Now that we're getting older, all our friends are married now, so we don't have to go to as many. There was a time when we were going to
buco weddings.
Yeah, tons of weddings.
Spending so much money on gifts. Like, well, I guess we're not eating this month. Everything's registered at $200 a pop. So we got into a lot, but I don't feel the need to dress up like suit and tie for a wedding that you're not involved in. Now, for the brother's wedding, a family wedding, I would feel more pressure to dress nice, dress nicer. But at the same time, like you said, she's essentially been allowing this behavior forever. Not saying a boo about it. She said she's let it go every single time. And essentially to him, it sounds like she's just popping up out of nowhere.
Right.
After,
it's not, she's been talking about
15 weddings
with him for every wedding. This has been secretly bothering me. And now I'm going to say something about it. So.
Yeah. It'd be like if you popped up out of nowhere right now and said, I can't stand that you're bald. Why didn't you use Rogaine back when you still had a chance? I'm like, well, I can't do much about it now. This is who I am. So thanks a lot.
A little different. That's something you can't help.
I know, but I mean, back then, at this point, he can't help it either. That's who he is.
So say we're going to a wedding this weekend and I tell you, okay, you're going to have to dust off those nice slacks.
I do have a pair now.
And wear your comfortable shirt tucked in because you've embarrassed me too many times. I feel like I'd be the jerk.
A little bit. Right. Every wedding we've been to, I've been embarrassed. Why are you only telling me now? Well, now I'm not going to change at all. Now it's a protest of you. How you've handled this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hesitant to call her the jerk. I don't really know that there's necessarily a jerk in the situation. There's just two people that... Would you wear a toupee? No, I would not.
You can be like Kevin. For
Kevin on The Office.
On The Office, he wore a toupee for the wedding. He dressed himself up.
That's right. You're right. It was for the wedding too. But he also wore shoe boxes. I mean, Kleenex
Tissue
boxes for shoes. Yeah,
that's true. It's a trade-off,
My Kleenex shoes were a huge conversation starter. I put my sore feet in the public ice.
Yeah. I've never used that ice machine in hotels ever again.
I feel like he should be willing for family weddings to be a little bit more dressed up. But I also feel like it shouldn't have been this moment that she chooses to put her foot down on it.
Right. She
Like,
should
this
have made that known a while ago.
thing. Every wedding, like, hey, this is someone's special day. Just a little bit more effort. That's all I'm asking. It's not too much to ask. I understand you'll be slightly uncomfortable. All of us are, almost all the time. Suffer with me for a little bit. Then if he just continues to refuse, then maybe he's the jerk. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like this was just poorly handled situation.
Right.
In the situation of her just dropping it on him at last minute here for this situation, she's the jerk, but him also digging his heels and saying there's no way I'm going to compromise on this, even for your brother's wedding, he's also kind of the jerk. So they're kind of both the jerk in this one situation, but not the jerk overall, because they're both, I mean, she, like you said, she knew who she was marrying.
Right. Yeah.
He knows who he is. They're both just living their life. You know, they're happiest there. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to give a win to either of them. They both suck. But just a little bit. Just a little bit. And in one instance, they were made for each other, as Joshua says. We're going to stop right there and take our first break.
But when we come back, we've got today's nerdy news story.
What if I told you there's more than 3 billion gamers on the planet? What if I told you that we're sending missionaries into almost every culture and every country and every language on the planet except one of the largest and most unreached people groups in the world? And that world is the world of gaming and nerd culture. With the rise of things like Stranger Things and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Harry Potter, you name it, nerd culture has been on a rise for dozens of years. And it has outgrown Christianity by almost 1 billion people. My name is Mark, and I am the lead and founding pastor of Lux Digital Church. My wife and I ministered in Pittsburgh for 11 years, and then 2 years ago started an entirely online church that reaches people in the digital gaming community. We now have a church family that is spread across almost 16 time zones all across the globe, and we get the opportunity every single day to actively engage in deep, impactful relationships with people, to see them not only come to know Jesus, but also to grow up and become more like Jesus. I am incredibly passionate about the church learning how to engage the next generation, and the next generation, spoiler alert, are mostly gamers. When Jesus says to go and love your neighbor, well, statistically, if your neighbor is a teenager or younger, if they are Gen Z or Gen Alpha, statistically, your neighbor is a nerd or a gamer. And for the most part, the church has little to no idea about how to actively engage with those subcultures. And they're not even becoming subcultures. They're mostly just our culture, which is why us at Lux Digital Church and also our friends over at Love Thy Nerd are putting together something called the Nerd Culture Ministry Summit this upcoming November in Marble Falls, Texas. It's a chance for you as a pastor and your team to come and learn how to actively engage in an impactful and meaningful way with a group of people that the church has largely ostracized, told their hobbies are stupid, or have mostly totally and completely forgotten about. The only way to actively engage with them and to tell them about the life-giving gospel is to build relationships with them through the things that they love. And most of those people, well, they love video games and board games and tabletop RPGs. And we want to teach and train you on how to actively get into that community. So we're gathering together nerd culture ministry leaders and nerd culture ministry missionaries, and we're pulling them together in one space for one summit to teach the church how to engage with this culture, to build bridges between church culture in nerd culture. It's going to be in Marble Falls, Texas this November. I hope to see you there. Make plans to be there. Go to ncmsummit.com and get registered today. It's inexpensive and a great opportunity for you and your team to learn how to connect with the next generation in a way that goes beyond just another pizza night. I'll see you there.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Nerds, LTN's brand new morning show, and there are 4 ways that you can experience our show. We know you can't always catch our shows when it premieres, and while that's a personal insult to us, we've got you covered. You can subscribe to our podcast. Just search Rise and Shine Nerds on your favorite podcast app, and of course, all of our videos are available on the YouTube channel anytime after they air. Let's talk about the state of healthcare. Oh, babe.
What?
Babe, this is an interesting one. Dr. Walmart will now see you.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
American retailers are seeing opportunities in the primary care business. So this is from a report from The Economist. With his long white coat, stethoscope, genially soothing manner, and wonky eagerness to discuss population health management and patient-centered medicine, Ronald Searcy seems the platonic ideal of a primary care doctor. The most unusual thing about him is where he works. A compact facility, complete with examination rooms, dentist office, phlebotomy lab, and x-ray room tucked into a Walmart in Northwest Arkansas. Since 2019, Walmart has opened 32 of these health centers in 5 states. By the end of next year, it plans to more than double that number and expand into 2 more states. And Walmart is not the only big company expanding into medical offerings. What do these companies see in the medical business? The answer is benefiting Americans' Byzantine and rent-filled healthcare system. Is both simple and complex. The simple answer is money. Americans spend a stunning amount of it on health, roughly 18% of the GDP in 2021, far exceeding the rich country average of about 10%, and more than double the ratio of some, such as South Korea, with healthier and longer-lived populations. America's spending is forecast to rise 5.4% per year over the next 8 years, outpacing economic growth and accounting for almost 20% of GDP by 2031. The bulk of that spending will come from Medicaid and Medicare, federal programs that cover healthcare costs for respectively poor people and those over 65. The complex part reflects changes in how insurers, including Medicaid and Medicare, pay for coverage, as well as changes in how consumers are willing to get it. And so, essentially, what Walmart and some other retailers have done for medicines, where, Walmart, big push a few years ago was how they've got a bunch of generic versions of super expensive medicines, all for about $4 to $5. Now they're going to be getting in discount doctor visits.
A generic version of your doctor.
But just imagine in your brain how weird that would be.
Yeah.
To walk into a Walmart and know that on one end, people are buying groceries, and on the other end, someone's getting a colonoscopy.
I doubt they'd have that at Walmart.
If they're going to open a doctor's place, why not? It's not going to be out in the open, but I mean, they're going to have their own weird facility inside your Walmart. That's strange.
Yeah.
That's a strange. It's a far cry from having a McDonald's inside a Walmart, which was a big deal.
I'm already like, people at Walmart sometimes are germy and gross and out in public. And now we're asking them to come in to where I'm buying groceries and trying to run around with my children, and you're over here hacking up a lung waiting in line to see a doctor.
They needed their own entrance, like the optometrist at the Walmart usually has their own door outside. Yeah,
got to be a.
But that's also weird, and I've never really thought about it. But it's weird that we have full optometrists.
I do Walmart. Like sometimes you're in the waiting room a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while you wait, you can go shop.
Sure. I'll call you over the speaker. Here's where I'm at on this. Okay. Like, I'm supposed to go see my doctor at least 4 times a year. Supposed to.
Uh-huh.
And every visit, even though it's just okay, everything's good, let's re-up your medication, whatever. Every visit's almost $300 that we have to pay.
Right.
That's after the insurance covers its portion.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a lot of money right now. That's too much money right now for me to go to the doctor. If I can go to Walmart's doctor for $40 for them to say, all right, you're good, let's refill your $4 prescription.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. Yeah. My primary care physician will be Sam Walton himself. I mean,
that's the thing, though. I mean, they're opening. Oh my gosh, they're opening a can of worms for themselves, having to keep up with all the healthcare regulations and all the insurance companies and working with everyone's insurance. It's a mess. It is a mess.
Joshua says our primary care physicians always book 6 months out too. Yeah. That as well as like dentists. Dentists are booked several months out most of the time.
In our town, we don't have very many eye doctors. And
that's right.
If you cancel your eye doctor appointment, you are waiting at least 8 months before another one. And so it's like an immovable appointment. Mm-hmm. I go in October. I make it for the following October. And I pray that I am not sick that week.
If I am, I will fake it. It's, I mean, that's kind of where we're going. Is making healthcare, like it said, dentist office as well as a part of this. And like we're making it necessary for things like this in all areas. It's something that can be in all areas because Walmarts are in all areas, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, we've had a building being built next to our Walmart for the last several months that I don't know what it is. Is this the Walmart medical facility? Anyway, it's it's reminding me again of Wally. We talked about Wally a couple days ago. Yeah. It's reminding me of the By and Large store that became like everything. It was like By and Large was a part of the presidency or whatever. Like it was a nuts looking thing. Is that going to just become everything that we do?
And we all know that By and Large was supposed to be Walmart.
Right. It definitely was, yeah. We've honestly been seen by walk-in clinic doctors more than our primary care. Easy next step. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's essentially what this would be, right? A walk-in clinic. Mm-hmm. But they had x-rays and stuff there. Phlebotomy? What's a phlebotomy? I want to know now. Phlebotomy.
Don't Google it.
What is it? Procedure. Oh, okay. It's blood. It's a blood lab.
Blood
That's
test.
what it is. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So blood
Why
lab.
can't you just say that?
Blood sucker. Mosaic says. You would know. Okay.
Good morning.
Just so strange. Such a strange world we're living in and going into right now. All right, let's take one more break. When we get back, we're diving into our main topic, the rapid growth of AI.
Hey everyone, I'm Hillary Fisco, and this is Reviews of the Nerds. Today, I'm reviewing Crash Landing on You, the internationally acclaimed K-drama available on Netflix. Whether you prefer action, romance, suspense, or comedy, Crash Landing on You is a fantastic introduction to the world of K-dramas. One of the highest-rated cable dramas in TV history, it begins with a South Korean business mogul who is accidentally swept across the demilitarized zone and gets rescued by a North Korean soldier. The show's 16 episodes follow the development of their relationship and her journey to escape home, while exploring contrasting ideas of luxury and poverty, including everyday things free South Koreans and Americans can take for granted. The show was able to portray both rural and urban life in North Korea thanks to extensive consultation with actual defectors. Scenes often juxtapose the freedom seen in South Korea with the restrictions of life under communism, both in a small border village and the modern-seeming capital city. A bright and airy high-end department store staffed with personal shopping assistants cuts away to an open-air contraband market with livestock and orphaned street urchins. One northern soldier scoffs at the idea of anyone having access to meat for multiple meals a day. Then we cut to a plate piled high with fried chicken at a restaurant in the South. Western audiences can still connect with universal themes of family, sacrifice, conformity, and romantic tension. We see lead and supporting characters escape cliches as they're humbled, broken, and remade. The chemistry between the lead actors is so natural and heartrending, thanks in part to their real-life relationship. I could go on and on about why this show is a favorite of mine and my family's. The way the subplots interweave, the acting, the music, the fashion, the food. So good, y'all. I'm Hillary Fisco, and whether you want to escape with a fascinating look at another way of life or settle in with something relatable, Crash Landing on You is a smash hit. If you like to follow along as I balance our homeschool life with encouraging, empowering, and educating through my small business, you can find me posting and teaching on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at KYRedheadMK, and streaming periodically on Twitch as KYRedhead.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Nerds, LTN's brand new morning show.
Before we jump into our main topic today, we've got an article recommendation. On Monday, Rachel Knight posted an article taking a look at the Surgeon General's report on the rise of loneliness, isolation, and lack of connection. Labeled as an emerging health crisis, the article is called The Importance of Connection. And you can find it on the homepage right now on lovethynerd.com.
This week, we are talking about the bonkers fast growth of AI and how AI is already intertwining itself into our lives. When a year ago, we rarely talked about it outside of science fiction. Today, we are going to look at how AI has been brought into the faith world. First, let's talk about AI Jesus.
Ugh.
This is an AI chatbot made to look like Jesus, or at least the Americanized idea of Jesus.
Right.
And it streams on Twitch 24/7, like just constantly, answering chatters' questions. So just like we have chatters in our Twitch stream this morning, it takes those and answers, I think at random, because there's too many people in there for it to answer all of them. It takes a while.
Sure.
But, I've watched quite a few of the interactions and some of the clips that people have made from interesting situations. And while often silly and weird feeling, the bot does seem to keep fairly within the lines of what the Bible says.
Which Bible are they using?
The new AI James version. So here's a silly example where a chatter asked AI Jesus to compare his disciples to Pokemon.
Now, I'll compare the apostles to Pokemon in a simple way. 1. Peter is like Pikachu, the most well-known and a natural leader. 2. Andrew is like Bulbasaur, a supportive and reliable companion. 3. James the Greater is like Charizard, courageous and full of zeal.
I don't like
4.
how he's pronouncing
John
it
is like Jigglypuff, known for his gentle and loving nature. 5. Philip is like Golem, strong and firm in his beliefs. 6. Bartholomew is like Alakazam, representing wisdom and insight. 7. Matthew is like Meowth, who transformed from a selfish person to a selfless follower. 8. Thomas is like Psyduck, sometimes confused, but ultimately loyal. 9. James the Less is like Squirtle, modest and resilient in the face of adversity.
Wow.
So chat says that looks creepy. Huh? Yeah. This is what's happening right now on Twitch. It's an interesting concept, an interesting project. What are your thoughts on seeing that?
I think that's dangerous.
Yeah. Now, what while it does, goofy things like that, I have seen in the first interaction that I saw was somebody asked them to explain a certain chapter of the book while talking like Daffy Duck or Donald Duck, and AI Jesus said, "I would love to talk to you about this book of the Bible and dive in deeper with you, but out of reverence for the Word of God, I will not be using a voice. I don't know exactly how it phrased it, but I will not be using a silly voice that might be deemed disrespectful." And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. That's nice. Wow. And AI Jesus also has the ability to remember if it's interacted with you. And it'll mention that. It's like, it seems that we talked previously about this, and this kind of thing. It was very strange, but yeah, just like Corthane says in chat, at least there are limits. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be any kind of malicious intent on part of the programmers. It seems to be a genuine attempt at doing something like this respectfully, as respectful, I guess, as it could be. Right. But there are workarounds with that, because it does read people's usernames, and some usernames have cuss words in them. And so a lot of the clips that you see, which are user generated clips from people that are watching, are ways that it tricked Jesus into saying a cuss word or something. I'm like, well, this is uncomfortable. But interesting.
It tricked a robot and
tricked a robot, essentially. Yeah, not really Jesus. Jesus can't be tricked. So a couple days, or yesterday, I think, we talked about there was an AI-powered church service in Germany. Yeah. This past week, or 2 weeks ago. And so I have an article here from ARS Technica. I want to talk about it. It says, on Friday, which was the 16th of June. I don't remember. Is it Friday? Yeah, 16th of June. Over 300 people attended an experimental ChatGPT powered church service at St. Paul's Church in the Bavarian town of Fürth, Germany, reports the Associated Press. So the 40-minute sermon included text generated by OpenAI's ChatGPT chatbot and was delivered by AI avatars on a television screen above the altar. The chatbot, initially personified as a bearded man with a fixed expression and monotone voice, addressed the audience by proclaiming, "Dear friends, it is an honor for me to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's convention of Protestants in Germany." The unusual service took place as part of a convention called Deutscher Evangelischer Kirchentag, or German Evangelical Church Congress, an event held biennially in German.
Biannually?
Germany. That's not what it says. Biennially. BEINNAIALLY. Biennially. In Germany, that draws tens of thousands of attendees. This service, which included prayers and music, was the brainchild of Jonas Simmerlein, a theologian and philosopher from the University of Vienna. Simmerlein told the Associated Press that the service was about 98% from the machine. So about 98% of the service was done by AI. Wow. In this case, the remaining 2% went a long way. Since ChatGPT doesn't work by itself, Simmerlein guided every aspect of the service's creation, working from the event's motto, "Now is the time." The sermon, which was led by computer-generated avatars of 2 men and 2 women, focused on topics of leaving the past behind, overcoming fear of death, and never losing faith. Simmerlein said, "I told the artificial intelligence, we are the church congress, you are the preacher. What would a church service look like?" In his ChatGPT prompt, he asked for the inclusion of psalms, prayers, and a blessing at the end. And he said, "You end up with a pretty solid church service." Reaction to the machine-led service were mixed. The AP reports that the computer avatars occasionally drew unintentional laughter for deadpan delivery, so everything was very monotone. Everything was very monotone. It came across like this. So anytime you delivered any phrase, it would always sound the same. Others took the event more seriously, but not necessarily positively. Some congregants, like Hydrol Rose Schmidt, 54-year-old IT professional, found the avatar's lack of emotions and fast, monotonous speech off-putting, remarking there was no heart and no soul. Others, like Mark Jansen, a 31-year-old Lutheran pastor, had a more positive outlook. He said, I actually imagined it to be worse, but I was positively surprised how well it worked. Also, the language of the AI worked well, even though it was still a bit bumpy at times. Simmerlin told the AP that his intention wasn't to replace religious leaders, but to utilize AI as a tool that could assist them. For instance, AI could provide ideas for upcoming sermons, or it could expedite the sermon writing process, freeing up pastors to devote more time to individual spiritual guidance. But while the wisdom of outsourcing spiritual wisdom to a machine is an open question, Simmerlein frames it more like a hyperbolic necessity. He said, artificial intelligence will increasingly take over our lives in all of its facets, and that's why it's useful to learn to deal with it now. Reportedly, Simmerlein's AI sermon drew so much interest that people formed a long line outside the church an hour before it began. Ultimately, the event attracted fascination because there is still novelty in applying AI to traditionally human moderated situations, even if the result is just a human cherry-picking large language model output. So if in the future pastors begin to rely on large language models for guidance while writing sermons, parishioners might end up hearing unintentionally novel interpretations of religious doctrine due to how this technology can easily make things up. To that end, Varge senior editor James Vincent quipped on Twitter, looking forward to future schisms caused by language model hallucinations, the equivalent of mistranslations between Aramaic and ancient Greek. So, I mean, I can tell you right now that yes, ChatGPT and all the other language model chatbots do make stuff up and present it as fact. I have been, we have a short for Love Thy Nerd called Nerd History. And for the first couple of years we were doing it, I would just cherry pick a single thing that happened within that week. And we would focus on that. Like this week in Nerd History, this happened. In the last few weeks, we've been changing it up to be let's try and get as many things nerd wise, shorten it, just give a little blurb for everything, and do like this happened in this week in the past, and so we'll have all 7 days covered. And I initially started finding those things by going to ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, can you tell me what happened historically in the world of movies on the dates in history between June this and June this, and it would give me all these lists of things like this date this happened, this date this happened, this date this happened. And I'm like, great. And I just took it and I'm like, all right, let's run with it. And so I would build my own little blurbs about it and, do this thing. Only to find out the next week, I'm like, oh, that date was way off. Like it said this happened June 1st. That was November 1st of that year. And so I still use it because it's hard to find these things and it is right sometimes. But I have to double check every single item it gives me to make sure that it really happened on that date. What I think is happening is it's pulling out random dates from Wikipedia articles or whatever and then saying that that's the date that it happened. But I also don't know because I'm getting for one of these, I asked the question for a bunch of different areas of nerd culture. And for one of these, it was professional wrestling because we have a small contingent of professional wrestling fans in Love Thy Nerd. And it kept telling me this one specific event happened every week. Every week I asked it. It's like, yeah, that happened this week in history. I'm like, why does it keep saying this one thing? It can't have all these different dates.
Right.
In any Wikipedia article, it wouldn't make sense for it to have all these different dates. So I really don't know if it's just pulling things out of the air, saying, yeah, this totally happened here. And saying this is a historic event that happened in the past, but It gets the year right. It's just the day that it gets wrong.
How strange.
So it fills in gaps that it has with things that might logically make sense, but are completely inaccurate. And so I can totally see that happening. With like, hey, help me formulate the outline of the script. The sermon. And it just makes up Bible verses, pulls things out of the air, pulls out allegories that don't really apply, mistranslates the Greek. All these different things could go wrong with this.
Right.
I did, for test purposes, write me a sermon about, I think I did just a book of the Bible, like 1 Timothy 1, chapter 1. And it spat out a whole sermon. I mean, it's short, but it was like something to build off of. And I'm like, so at this point, do you just take it and trust it from where it started and build off it? Or do I still have to go back and research all of this anyway?
Right. Is it?
And then rewrite it. So is it even worth it?
Helping me?
Yeah, is it even worth it to start from this point? I don't know. Now, I don't think it is. But I bet in the future, it will be. I mean, I feel like this, once we get to the point where we know ChatGPT's, ChatGPT or any of the other chatbots are more accurate than not, then at that point, why wouldn't we use it all the time for that kind of thing? Jumping off points.
Right.
You wouldn't want it to do the whole work for you.
Right.
And there are, see, that's another thing that's rising up right now, is there's entire websites now coming up just full of completely ChatGPT generated articles. Like it says, write me an article about this. And then it just goes on, a whole little tangent, writes it out, and they just copy and paste it and then put all their ads on it. And they just make sure
put it like it's their article.
Yeah, put it like it's their article. So make sure it's something
presented as truth,
something that people are searching about right now, so they get all these ad views. I mean, it's smart. Let's see what else here. So, can AI be beneficial in ministry? AI can analyze large amounts of data, such as social media posts, to identify patterns and insights that can inform the development of, ministry strategies in your area. Okay. It can automate repetitive tasks, such as scheduling or data entry, freeing time for ministry staff to focus on more critical things. It can create personalized content and recommendations for individuals, such as Bible study plans, prayer suggestions, which can help deepen spiritual growth. We could use AI to help us better learn and understand the Bible, assuming we ask it the right questions and don't ask it to create things. So the worry becomes when AI expands large enough to become self-aware, or even like an artificial God, which is part of what we're talking about tomorrow. But for today, we're out of coffee, so it's time to wrap things up.
But before we go, let's get our verse of the day. Today's verse is 1 Peter 2:2-3. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by if you may grow up into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the tasted that the Lord is good.
And with that, our Wednesday show is coming to a close. Thank you for joining us for Rise and Shine Nerds. We want to invite you to get behind the scenes by joining our LTN Discord community. Once you've joined at lovethynerd.com/Discord, simply go to Channels and Roles and click on the Rise and Shine Nerds channel to gain access to it. You can help us plan shows and segments and even be on the show yourself on occasion. Subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app or through the Love Thy Nerd YouTube channel. And so you don't miss any episodes, make sure you click that little bell and it'll announce when we're coming. And tell us what you think of the show via our socials at Rise and Shine LTN on Facebook and Twitter. Once again, I'm Radio Matt.
I'm Deidra.
And as always, a reminder,
Jesus loves you, nerds.